Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Soft Left. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Amazing.
I know. You guys all look great. I want to say though that Monty, every week you progressively get more clean shit. You're more clean. Like the hair's done. You're wearing I think in a couple of weeks you're going to wear a suit.
Yeah, I'm adding a thing every week. That's
okay, guys. Ladies, people who are out there in the Etherverse. I'm Sandra Battaglini, and I'd like to welcome you to Soft Left, a show where comedians hash out news and events as they unfold in a COVID new world. So it's like regional, national, international, and celebrity noise from all over the planet with this incredible cast that I'm about to introduce. So we've got, following all slaughterhouse drama and resident unboxer, it's Candice Gregoris. You could say, do you want to say?
I speak. I didn't realize
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, indeed. There will be meat-based updates.
Yeah, you are following all your slaughterhouse drama inside and out.
It follows me, Sandra. Yeah. I can't even get away from the meat news.
I know. I couldn't believe you brought it up again, but it's like every week more meat news.
It came up.
That's great. And next, our foreign affairs expert and Brazilian transplant, Carol Zoccoli.
What is up? What is up, guys? Hello, everybody.
Also, I also wanted to say Carol is a former Saturday Night Live Brazil alumni. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great because I can use that as a credit here because you guys didn't watch it. So it's fine. Thank you.
My pleasure. Next on the panel, we have the world's first and only quarantine couturier and model, Phil Luzi.
Let's get political.
I want to get political. Let's get into Your hair looks really curly. Oh. Oh my God, I felt your lips.
I'm accepting my curliness, since the pandemic.
Yeah, you got to. And finally, guys, on our panel, we have Juno Award nominee and maybe winner. We don't know yet because the awards were canceled. It's Monty Scott.
What's going on, Sandy?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. So if they leave it as is, I guess the five of us will be tied forever.
Well, you can just declare yourself a winner. Who's going to say no? You're just like, I think that's what that's what it should be. What do you call it? Not like runner up, but that should be the consolation for not being able to be there.
I should do the what do you call that? George W. Bush electoral college. I think I want it. Anyway, I'll see you guys. Yeah,
exactly. So, anyways, guys, vote for Monty if it ever comes to it. You know what? We're gonna go right in. We're gonna dive right in. First topic is the American deep state. How deep is deep? It's deep. Okay. So according to Peter Dale Scott, the deep state expert who coined the term deep state, he argues that there's two governments in the United States. The one that we recognize with elected representatives and the deep state, which actually runs things. And he identifies several deep events like the Iran-Contra affair, the JFK assassination, 9/11. And it's basically run by Wall Street, the CIA, who was created by Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and a couple of Hollywood celebrities. And to me, I feel like the deep state is like the deep dish pizza, which the Americans invented. Okay, because a pizza wasn't enough for these people.
No,
you know what I mean? They're like, what's better than a pizza? Another pizza inside a pizza. Okay, and the deep dish is like the deep state. It has a crust on top and one in the bottom, but what's in the middle? We don't know. I ate a deep dish pizza. I ate a deep dish pizza in.
What's even happening?
What's in the middle? Exactly.
I'll tell you what's in the middle is a whole bunch of fucking gooey cheese.
Well, that's it. But
that's accurate.
But I ate a deep dish pizza in Chicago once, and I shit for 3 days. So.
Oh.
That's what we call.
Did you order that?
Adapting.
Was that part of it? Did you pay more for that, or?
No, it was terrible. It was like 3 days in Chicago with having to go to a toilet like really close by. It was fucked up.
But this is the most confused I've ever been in a political conversation culinarily.
Is it too many concepts? Did I introduce too many concepts?
Just for me, not necessarily for anyone else.
Yeah, I'm like trying to go back from the middle of the pizza to the deep state, I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Deep state.
The deep dish pizza state.
I don't believe this thing. I don't think that it's so organized like this. I don't think there's like a group of people.
There is.
I don't think so.
Well,
Why? How? Why?
Well, why? Because it just makes sense when you look at American politics that things don't make sense. You know, you got the elected representatives who are running things.
Of course, there are things going on, like under the radar. Of course, but what I mean is not there's not an Illuminati group. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like there's not a group. That's what I think. This is like conspiratory.
I don't think it's.
I'm with you, Carol.
Me too.
I'm with you. Because
I mean,
think about it. It's alluring. Like that idea, that concept makes for a really great fucking script. But I mean, if I'm gonna go like this, well, if you pull back from the fucking deep state, follow the money. That's just what I'd say, right? Like, if to me that's you have a deep state. I have a follow the money.
It's the same thing. I mean, it
would be the same thing.
That's I guess what I'm trying to say. But I think the deep state though has another like secret government layer to it. I don't think there's a secret cabal or a
man, of course there are.
No, there's no old white men meeting in the woods for this. They're meeting in the woods for other reasons.
Girl.
Well, they are meeting in the woods for other reasons after they meet in the woods for this reason. You know, anyways,
that's where we part company. Our roads fork there.
That's okay. You're at the north end of Queen. I'm at the south end. The fork in the road.
Yeah, but I'm in the Friuli of the street.
Joe, can you pull up the photo of the author, Peter Dale Scott, the one, just the singular one? Yeah, there. See?
My God.
Okay, doesn't he look like, guys? Does he not look like? Does he not look like my puppet?
Yes.
Isn't that fucked up?
I was just gonna say that he looks like Mr. Binkles.
Guys, this is my puppet. Doesn't he look like this is basically the deep state expert. My puppet, Mr. Binkle. Guys, check it out.
Oh my God.
Isn't that fucked? I know. I made an old man for a puppet.
There's so many scary things about it.
That's crazy.
So I know. And then I was like, I just realized it today.
Yeah, it is. He's kind of like Saw meets like
Carol, you have a
New
puppet?
England yachter.
Show us your puppet.
Wait, okay, but I didn't. It's not fancy as Sandra's. No.
I'm gonna take a bong hit. Anybody object?
You know what I mean? Live your life. Live your
That's
life.
very
Live
correct.
your life on the south side of Queens.
Listen to the puppet.
Oh my God! I love it.
That's amazing. What's his name?
Jesus, I don't know.
They should do a show.
I don't really do anything with it. I just bought it.
I made this out of wood. I
mean,
never.
if you two ladies could corner the Zoom puppet show market right now,
I consider it cornered.
Jump
Consider it
into
fucking
that.
cornered.
Talking right,
jump
guys?
into that.
So I just want to say this thing about the deep state. So this guy, Peter Dale Scott, who is Canadian, by the way, but is a professor at UCB. But when you read his stuff, you're like, maybe it's like he's stating the obvious, but he's not. He just really ties in these events, and he ties in people internationally where money has gone out. You know, Peter Dale Scott said that basically the deep state was really came into being after World War II. And they, you know, when it helped to finance the Marshall Plan, which is the financial aid they gave to Western European countries, really to stop the spread of communism, and then to fund certain coups. Military around the world. So that was the other part of this deep state. It's the military. So it just makes sense. Like to me, when people are like, "Oh, that's conspiracy theory," I'm like, "You mean to tell me there's not a couple of people who got together to conspire? Is someone like running up the stairs?"
They don't need to conspire, Sandra. We're talking about people who are already doing shit out in the open. There's no conspiracy.
Yeah, no, there is.
In the open.
It's not all in the open. It's not in the open. The worst stuff is hidden. Trust me.
Of course, the worst stuff is hidden, but my point is we don't even need any more evidence anyway of horrible shit happening. We already have the evidence. There doesn't need to be a deep state to prove that things are shitty.
Well, it doesn't. You're arguing. You're getting upset about the fact that there is a deep state when it's like it just is just this other group of people. And and he also says most democracies are run by, there's deep states in all democracies, and it's true. It's just like special interest that influences politicians, and then we wonder why certain decisions are made. That's all. But in the United States, it's just much more.
I mean, if you're saying that there are elites, okay.
Well, look, I mean, there's someone jumping in my house. There's someone jumping at Phil's house. Coincidence? Now, I don't understand why. I don't understand why the two wouldn't be together. And not Phil's jumping and my jumping. I don't understand why you'd be against the idea of like follow the money, which is true. And there's definitely cabals of people working in many different governments all through the years. I mean, I don't know why. Is it the name deep state you don't like? Because to me, it's for sure. It's just a matter of how much do you want to call it a thing.
It's been 10 minutes. That's the best. I was like, who? Sexy.
Amazing.
That was sexy.
I was like, like an amazing body wash feel to the whole experience.
Yeah, we've now been baptized of the free of the deep state.
Free.
Well, it was about time.
And I don't even know who's next. Does somebody know who's next?
Oh, it's me, I think.
Yeah.
Hit
it, Candy.
Oh, yeah. So journalism, what's happening now and post-COVID. So I guess truly the kind of high level headline, if you will, of what I want to talk about is what's going to happen to media and journalism when we get to the other side of COVID, and what is the media going to look like once we get there. So I called Front Burner, and I was listening to an episode of it this week, and they were talking about how COVID could be journalism's extinction event. And
the deep state, I'm telling you.
Well, but the thing is that I feel, okay, I'll talk about my journalism thing and then we'll connect it to the deep state, okay? So the thing is they went through how in the market crash of 2008, after they had the big financial collapse and the mortgage stuff happened, that ad revenue, like newspapers had been not doing great, but they were still doing okay. But then their ad revenue majorly plummeted, and the market share of our newspapers went down by 20%, and they've never recovered since. And the feeling is that now with COVID, again, like just the media in Canada, something like since the middle of March, 2,000 jobs have been lost in journalism and the news. And there's this feeling that there's going to be more consolidation of the media. It's going to shrink. So many of our media companies right now, Post Media and Torstar Media, I think are both 51% owned by American hedge companies. So who's going to control our news? Maybe I am talking about the deep state, Sandra. I think I'm convinced now. I think I talked myself into it. I think that just happened.
You could relate everything back to the deep state, really, because they control everything we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
It's related to what I'm going to talk about as well.
So what are people's thoughts about that? Like, because they're also saying that the first thing that goes is local news.
Oh.
But right now, during an event like COVID, that's what everyone really wants.
Right.
Everyone really wants the local news, like what's happening right
near
here and near me that will affect me immediately. But so much local journalism has been shut down or bought up.
But I thought it would be the opposite, because I thought that the news were doing very well because everybody's like clicking all the time. I thought it was the opposite.
That's so, you know what? I thought it was the same thing too, but what they were saying on this is that very few advertisers or people want to put their products out now, want their product to be next to wall COVID coverage, right? And they were also talking about how Google and Facebook are actually the two largest platforms for advertising in the world. They're basically the biggest platforms for advertisements. So that's another reason why journalism is shutting down, because all the ad revenue has swung over to Facebook and Google. But when you post an ad on Facebook, or when you select for your ads and stuff, you can do keyword exclusions. So just like you can say, if this word pops up, make sure my ad goes on a page where this word is. You can also say, make sure my ad does not appear where this word is. And it's usually intended for things like, you cocksucker. Like you would say, please don't put my ad next to cocksucker. But what they're saying is now
To each their own. To each their own.
I mean, whatever
Prejudice, it's prejudice.
is, right? But now they're advertisers who are putting like, don't put my ads next to anything that says COVID. And the few advertisers that are out there, and I'm sure you've seen them, the ads that they're putting out there are couched in usually, let's thank our first responders.
Yeah.
So they're not really selling a product, but they are trying to keep their name out there. But it was saying that actually the ad revenue for everybody is actually shrinking, Carol, which is not what I was expecting to hear either.
Yeah. Well, one thing though, that if you want to be very positive here, one thing is that I think that the media has to be out of this business model of just clickbait and selling ads, and maybe this is a chance for the media to find another way to support itself, right?
Well, from what I understand and from what I've seen, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Yale report, but the government just did like a whole telecommunications and broadcast review that took them a really long time. So the Yale report is, come out, and the government has wanted to, and they were going to, and now it's all delayed, to make all these recommendations to change broadcasting in our country that would really help people like us, because a lot of it's Canadian content and all this kind of stuff. And there was a real emphasis too on local broadcasting. And I know that since COVID, the government did put money stimulus into news. So,
but not into salaries. So that's one of the funny things that they were talking about, was that what was the money going to support? And it wasn't necessarily the salaries of journalists.
Silicon Valley destroyed journalism and destroyed our media, whatever media we were doing, they've destroyed it. They apparently once NBC comes into the Canadian landscape, Bell and Rogers will disappear, because what are they doing? And first of all, what are they doing? But the only people that will be telling will be broadcasting Canadian news would be CBC. I mean, CTV might do some news, but I don't know. So it's I don't know. I think, yeah.
So Carol,
I might argue that the water skiing squirrel has destroyed local news, and there's a point at which, I often, when it comes to local news, I'm fine it's not around right now, because I just want to hear about, this is a pretty important story with COVID, and a lot of times I find local news so sensational, where it's either somebody got shot, and I'm like, I recognize someone's going to get shot. It's not really news, unless someone's shooting in my neighborhood right now. Important to know, but when are you going to differentiate from what's a real story about that neighborhood and just some sensational kind of superficial stuff? So I mean, like when they're reporting just superficially, like the local evening news, I mean, I find it a hard time to kind of lament that being missing.
That's, and that's fair. And maybe to Carol's point about it being on the positive side, they were talking about journalism, it being an extinction event. But Carol, you're right. I mean, extinction just means it's gone, but what comes up in its place, really, right? So to Monty's point, the thing that really with ad revenue and local news that shrunk are things like like city hall reporters following corruption stories. And then what newsrooms can afford is someone in a truck chasing a police scanner. But it takes money to fund long-term local stories, which with the ad revenue shrinking up. But hopefully, Carol, I'm hoping there will be something else that springs up in its place.
Well, that's what part of that Yale report is, like, you know, ads like Facebook, you know, regulating them, because the way they entered our marketplace was to very little in the government at the time. It was to very little opposition. They were like, yeah, come on in. And it was really disastrous on us and like all over the world. It's a problem all over the world because
like those classifieds were their bulk of their money, right?
Yeah, that's what they were talking about. Like it wasn't necessarily like a big full page ad that was where the revenue was drying up. It was people selling their cars, or, hey, I got an old couch you want to have, and that all went to like Kijiji and
All like, American, Silicon Valley, man. And that's the thing. But I do believe, like, I just read an article about like this pizza restaurant in Toronto, that a bunch of restaurants have come and formed a cooperative to deliver food, because Uber and all these places take like 30%, and people get their pizzas they're all like apart because the guy's riding his bike with the pizza like this. So they're just like, you know, these companies like Uber, I call them, you know, American propaganda, Airbnb, they're all, you know, they don't leave money in Canada.
It's been 10 minutes.
My favorite.
So provocative. I love it.
I love it. Guys, who's next on the Billeroni?
Oh my God. Just spectacular.
It's me.
Oh, yeah.
So I was reading an interesting article, and it hit home with me because I'm sure all of us are looking at the U.S. right now and wondering, what the fuck are these people doing? Like, what is this president doing, obviously? And it was about freedom and what America has done with their freedom, because, you know, here's a country who just a little while ago was like made their kids do active shooter drills and asked teachers to, you know, wear guns and learn how to use guns to protect them from mass shootings. And today they're congregating rebelliously, well, for the most part, except for what the president is saying, on beaches and parks during a pandemic. And you're wondering, like, what is your level of, what's your scale of panic in that country, you know? Like, you're making us reenact or pre-reenact shooting scenarios, but yet a real threat like a pandemic's around, and everyone's just walking around with their bikinis on. And this article talked about freedom and the idea of what freedom is, like a positive freedom where you're like looking for freedom to do certain things, or negative freedom from like restrictions, like you know, a class system or bondage. And that the U.S. is stuck where they are, and their freedom is defined by what they can gain privately or like for their own interest, as opposed to, you know, conceiving something on a social level and working towards a freedom of something bigger than just an individual. And it made sense. And I'm like, now I get how you can make sense of where they went from doing these drills to not listening to natural pandemic rules, you know?
Yeah. You know, like I just read something today that around the world, millionaires' fortunes are declining, or billionaires, except for in the United States. Their billionaire class has just gotten so much richer.
Well, apparently Bezos just became the world's first trillionaire because of COVID-19.
And apparently a trillionaire can like literally relieve all the world.
Hello.
I think she was not hearing.
Hi, Candice.
Hello.
We can hear you.
But
I can't hear anything.
We can hear you.
Can hear.
You can hear me.
Yeah.
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 Kind of like when I was
I
like,
can't hear anything. I'll stop talking.
Well,
I know. I'm confused. I did
Phil,
the
we
same
needed
thing.
somebody to step up and translate. You pulled it off. You're like, we can hear you.
We.
You did a couple of Hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
But
can
the
hear you guys.
idea of freedom, that the way they postulated and sold this freedom in America,
Yeah.
it's all false. What freedom to do what? To go buy fucking shit? That's it.
Yes.
It is this false freedom of like making it.
Yeah.
And this is even like if in Brazil, like we still have some of the American values, but it is still very different. And even in Canada, when I moved here, like it's so much different. Like the mentality of like making it, you gotta make it, you know.
Yeah.
You gotta be
American
successful.
dream.
Yeah, you have to have a side hustle. And if you work, like even in comedy,
You work
if you
3
don't
jobs
do-
and are a single
yeah,
mom. Yeah.
if you
And
don't
she's a
do
hero.
17 sets in the week, you're not a comedian. I'm like, what the hell? What's
I
going on?
know.
You know, it's crazy. It's
Well,
crazy.
that's busy work, you know. They like to keep
Yeah.
people busy. But I mean, you're only free in America as long as you're not costing someone richer than you money. Then all of a sudden they're like, hey, maybe not so much freedom, you know?
Yeah.
Like to me it seems like that kind of thing always. Like right now they want people to work. So they're gonna subtly tell them, and not so subtly, you should go to work. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, you should be back hustling, so that you know you're not costing us money because we need you to right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, in the case of hey, good news is you got your job. Bad news is they're probably going to shoot at your kids at school. So you know, you might want to mitigate that by some drills, perhaps, or you know.
I just think, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, 2 months, everyone's freaking out. And I know, listen, I'm having a hard time with isolation for sure, in that, you're not allowed to do certain things. But I'm just saying that we took a break for 2 months and people figured out. I'm like, it's 2 months. It's nothing in the timeline of the world.
History, yeah.
It's nothing. And also to stop, that's the joke. Like, we didn't stop everything. I think what's essential and what we need to survive, we're doing it. We're not
That's
like.
Not bad at all. I mean, Sandra, imagine we haven't been in jail this whole 2 months.
Yeah.
But
we have
like, what is free? Like, how much freedom should people have during a pandemic?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
like how much freedom are you willing to sacrifice for the good of the society?
Back in the day, in the 1918 one or whatever, when everyone was dying everywhere, was it even a question that like somebody was out there just playing tennis and we couldn't stop them? Like he's like, yeah, we're gonna play. The tennis club's still moving on, and we're like, dude, everybody's dying everywhere. Or does that eventually just stop? Does that stop you? Like being like, yo, there's too many bodies on the court.
Yeah. I think like the corona is maybe it's too weak of a sickness to make people afraid. Because I think
at the moment, maybe, yeah,
the other plagues were terrible. I think
Right.
if it was like if Ebola was like as contagious as corona is, people would be like,
yeah.
you know.
I wouldn't even be talking to you guys. I'd be still hiding under my bed.
The Black Plague, I mean, that just wiped people out like crazy. I mean, I think that I don't know, who knows, but you know what? Like,
There's definitely a point at which it doesn't become a problem anymore because people will not go out.
I just think it's actually more, yeah, but I think it's more obvious now than ever that especially these people in America, the industrial class, the capitalist class, they're flaunting it in our faces. They're like, yeah, we don't care that you're going to die because I'm sending you back to the slaughterhouse, but I need to make sure that I make this fucking profit for this quarter for these fucking assholes who literally take that profit and dip their balls in it and then want somebody to suck it.
I mean, that's what I would do if I had that much money.
Call it Phil.
But I mean, but that's what's fucked. Would you even want to? I mean, you might want to be in that place, but really, does anybody? Like, it's disgusting. It's terrible.
Well, look at Tesla right now, right? Like Tesla demanded his factory open for some reason.
I know he's another one. Yeah. He's another sick fuck. That guy's sick.
He's a billionaire. Just he's got the factory. He's got his balls in something, and he's like, let's make this thing happen.
What's his kid's name? Like, is it some sort of computer code? Did anybody see this?
I couldn't.
Yeah, isn't it like Kyle?
I couldn't conceive of it.
Translate to Kyle or something.
Is that right?
What do you mean computer
I don't know.
code?
Or at least there's a meme that says
it's not a
it
word.
translates into Kyle.
Yeah, it's like computer code or Klingon. It doesn't look like, it's not English.
Like R2 hashtag?
Yeah.
All I know is however you spell it, it's pronounced resentment. When that kid grows older,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure there's an element in it.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I see therapy there.
Just looking at an art. Well,
I think there's a
here I'm
hieroglyph and
doing
an element
research.
in the name. You named them for the Stargate.
but that's when you know, like so that, you know, there's a perfect example that if billionaires or millionaires around the world, their fortune's coming down and America's is not, then you want to tell, like, who's operating this fucking, who's doing this puppet show? Because that's the whole point, is that most of the population in the United States and around the world, they want wealth to be redistributed. They want their neighbors to have more money, to have more freedoms. You know what I mean? That's what most people want. And yet that's not what happens.
Because
that makes no
tell
sense.
them that if they have that, then they can't have the other kind of freedom, which is like the freedom to own a gun or to shoot somebody for riding a bike in your backyard. Like,
yeah, it's.
Although, Sandra, I'll say this: where's any billionaire from? What do you mean America's billionaires? I mean, like, I have billionaires have ascended from being from countries, you know.
Well, I guess but it's part of America's like, you know, capitalist class. You know, Elon Musk, Bezos. They include that in their GDP or whatever.
Is Bezos paying?
What's the next one?
Amazing.
Shake your ass, girl.
That's so fabulous.
That's because it's dance party time.
Oh my God!
Right on.
What are we doing?
Get it down.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Puppet.
Yeah. Bam. Flat. Oh, look at this. Ow. The puppets are out.
Oh wait, hold up. My puppet's out. And his head is in the back of his. Oh my God, what happened? Oh my God, I'm sorry. Did I fuck up your head? So I was having a moment.
Oh my God.
Okay. Did you had one last, what were you saying about Bezos, Monty? I know we got to go to the next topic.
I was asking, seriously, does he pay tax in the United States?
No, who pays tax?
No.
This was like, hey, if he's an American billionaire company, is it even registered in the United States? Like, that's what I'm saying about all of them. But really, where do they pay tax?
Look at that perfect.
What a
Already for a
segue.
good line.
Perfect connection,
Perfect.
Monty.
Amazing.
Well, this is a it segues well, but it is a thought I've been having. You know, like, as much as crisis is opportunity, but currently, right now in the stock market is about 15 to 20% lower than it was before COVID, which is, you know, it's actually had its best month in history in March. April. April was its best month in the history of the stock market.
How does this make any sense?
Well, this is it. Like, what it's supposed to be tied to what's happening, by and large. But right now, like I say, best month. We're coming off the best month in history in the stock market. Did anything good happen in April that I missed? That people are like, I got to buy stocks. This company is going to do amazing. Other than, say, something like Amazon, which is kind of works well in a pandemic kind of situation for their business model. Everybody else, it makes no real sense why the stock market would be generally fine right now. Went down 20%. It's like 20% higher than when Trump took office.
This makes no sense. So it appears that, you know, whoever, the CIA, they're like, you know, if Wall Street controls this part of this cabal, They're making shit up. Like, how did the price of gas go from under 70 cents to right now it's over 90 cents? Why? How did that happen? Because now we're going back to work? Yeah. You believe that shit? Over 90 cents.
Well, something like gas, at least the way it's trading, you know, like Saudi Arabia and Russia got into a battle about the race to the lowest gas price.
They did.
Like, Saudi Arabia's like, yeah, you want to go lower? And Putin's like, race you. And then they just started flooding the world with oil. And then, you know, obviously the price went down until they had to talk those guys off a ledge. Both of them were like, listen, would you just, everybody, please calm down. I think Trump brokered the deal of like, listen, surely you guys can't be crazier than me. Let's just call it a day. No, we can't race to the bottom of oil prices. So I'm just saying that's a bit of a anomaly as far as the price coming up in oil, just because everyone agreed to not do crazy shit. But the general price of the stock market is currently completely untied to the economic upheaval we're seeing. And I mean, deep state, I don't know. What do you guys like?
How did this happen that everything's deep state, goes back to the deep state? And you know,
you're right.
You're right.
That author Dale Scott, he said that, you know, Donald Trump started bringing up the deep state, that they were against him, and then the media people started talking about it, but the media is the one that, and they've been debunking it. They're like, oh, this is not real. But of course, they're the ones being paid to say it's not real.
But also, I think that if there was a deep state, it wouldn't even be in the United States. Like, I don't know. I think now other countries have a little bit more power than we think.
Well, maybe just like conceiving of it like, you know, the mafia and casinos, right? Like, everybody, they chat with each other. They all run their own lines of businesses. They know who the thugs are. Right. They each have their own armies of sorts. Like, that's really just what it is. And when you're talking about Jeff Bezos, well, he owns the fucking casino.
Can you say his name again?
He's getting a piece of fucking everything.
Yeah. I definitely go along with that general theory. I mean, although when you look at somebody like the CIA, you know, they've been an organization that's dealt primarily with organized crime from around the world. Not their own organized crime, but everybody else's organized crime. And yes. So those are people that are very entrenched in the American government that are just proven lying criminals, really. So the idea that they would come out with a group of people that are kind of shifty and know each other seems pretty reasonable. Not to say that they're in charge of the stock market problem. I don't know. I know.
I was just going to say I apologize for taking it away from the stock market, but I will say here's a theory. Here's a theory: is where is the action in the market coming from? Who's buying the stocks? Who's running this? Like, are there a few people who right now, because there's fear, chaos, maybe there's some people dumping, but still then there's still a huge group of people who are like, all right, chaos, opportunity, I'm just going to start buying stuff, hoping that it's a gamble, like they're hoping that the economy comes back, and then now they just got a deal because they bought stuff at good prices.
I'm sure there's lots of people like that. I mean, one thing the central bank did that they didn't do apparently in the Great Depression is they didn't bring in as much liquidity as quickly as possible. So the central bank brought a lot of stimulus on board, which is helpful, I mean, at a minimum. So maybe it's part of the reason it had a resurgence, because the central bank essentially said that they're going to print money and loan money for free. So that's helpful. I mean, but it is weird. It's just an anomaly that, I mean,
it doesn't make sense. You're right. Yeah, everything is shut down. Everything is shut down. Nobody is working. And maybe it's because I honestly don't know. I just think I think it's literally has to do with, what is the stock market? It's the people who are making the most off of it are just a bunch of rich people who are buying up stock, and they're just putting their money, they're just investing what they have. And they're just, I feel like the stock market is just a gossip mill. Because it's a lot of inflated value. They'll be like, "Hey, this is worth something." Like I think Amazon stock is $2,000 a fucking stock right now. Yeah, it's trading at. So that
It is.
maybe that's why it's showing so much. But yeah, to me, I've always thought the stock market is bullshit.
Oh,
Straight
yeah.
up, it's probably just about 3 white guys who look like that picture and your puppet who just fucking make up shit for fun.
Yeah.
Well,
honestly,
there's definitely a lot of just outright bullshit in the stock market where, people are just making up things, and there's a bunch of those white puppets. There's a whole crew of them.
Like you should see where he's at right now. He's just sort of like his head is. Can you see it?
A pack of was that tailored after Baron von Munchausen, or what's that guy?
Munchausen?
That movie.
What, the
Baron von Munchausen? Yeah.
I don't know. It's like you build a puppet. It was all out of wood, so it was just like we learned different techniques, and then you just start carving it out, and then that was like you make the face out of like stuff, and that's just what came out.
I like him. He's good.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
He's a cutie patootie.
Put him on the stock market. See what happens.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
those are the best. Yeah, Joe, my boss, Joe. We got our last thing before question period. Zoccoli. Oh yeah, check.
Oh, look at these fucking Mr. Binkles.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah. So there is a lot of ex-Bernie supporters that are enraged because Bernie dropped out and is supporting Biden. And I do understand their point of view. And I do understand that Biden represents everything they don't want anymore. But also, I think in a way that Bernie, like, it was proven that he wouldn't be able to win. And I think he's like even going over his differences to try to make something like good in this chaos.
Oh no!
Yeah. You disappeared for a
we
second.
lost you. So.
Yeah. So sometimes I understand those ex-Bernie supporters that are enraged, but sometimes I think they don't understand. And I don't know. I want to hear from you. What do you guys think?
Well, this is like another example of how they're hypocrites, because like whatever happened to that concept of like the little train that could, like they're kicking Bernie off, like he was probably forced off of that campaign, because of whatever fucking deep state pieces of shit were dealing with shit in that realm. And so basically kicked him out. And then they want to tell everybody about the American dream. It's like, you can't do that. Like, we're confused. We know you guys are puppeteers. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like you would say this all along. You're like, and I was so excited when all this was happening. Phil, you would say like, look, Bernie, there's never been a better platform. He's basically saying the truth. And all of a sudden
during a pandemic of all times.
And then he capitulates.
Be listening to him the most. And yet that's when they got rid of him, during the pandemic.
Yeah, that is definitely a deep state event right there. There is no better, because that makes no sense, especially because he won the nomination the last time. And then Hillary snatched it away. It's like they the papers will say they'll have columns like they'll have a lot of opinion that says, well, Bernie can't win, he's not this, he's not that, and yet the reality is that he's more supported than Biden. Like, none of this makes sense. None of this.
Joe Biden is an alien.
He lost big in the 2 primaries.
But who, Bernie did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he lost big. That's why.
And
you can't trust those elections.
I just
you can't trust those elections
again, because I was trying to remember what was happening, because Sandra was like, yeah, you're right, what the hell was going on around then? So I just looked it up, and the day that Bernie dropped out was March the 18th. So that would have been just as people were starting to go on lockdown.
Yeah.
And if I remember, there was a Supreme Court case that was happening around that time, and a decision came down that day, because there was an election, I think, in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to double check after this, but there was an election in Wisconsin, and the Supreme Court upheld that the election had to be held that day, and there would be no concessions had to be made for COVID, right? Like so it scared people away from voting, and it was the day after that Bernie conceded. So I think there was some fear about election and judge bullshit, and he just kind of was like, at that point, I'm going to drop out so that Biden can just be in front, and that it looks unified after that court
Such
case.
bullshit.
I don't think it was as benevolent as that. And
Oh, I don't think that's benevolent, though, necessarily.
There were people with guns at Bernie Sanders' house. I can probably guarantee. I can't guarantee that, but let's just say.
You know what? The Americans are just, well, not the Americans, I'm sorry. Whoever's more or less running that country, the power elite in that country,
The deep state.
are never, yeah, you call them what you like. The rich puppets are never going to let
This is the best.
those people have health care. The idea that they might have health care is just absurd to them. They're like, how can we run a government without health care or with health care, even though every real country does? So, you know,
But you know, because you know what pisses off America, you know, like having free healthcare is only like overshadowed by the idea to an American that they are helping to pay for someone else's healthcare. That's what pisses them off more than wanting to have it for themselves.
I always love that idea, Phil, that are they also pissed off that they paid for part of that road and they just didn't build their own road? You know, like I could have built my own goddamn road. That should be my light post. Why would I have let these people on my property to put a light post up and I had to pay for this socialism? Like
socialized sidewalks.
Socialized sidewalks. Now, I don't build my own sidewalks?
Because they're all greedy psychopaths, because they're the ones that benefit from the government the most. Because they don't pay tax and all of the loopholes they've created. It's socialized government for the rich, but for everybody else, it's fucking dog eat dog what? What's the saying?
Capitalism.
A dog eat dog world?
Yeah, dog eat dog world.
That's why there needs to be more rabble rousers, Sandra.
Well,
they're coming.
It's honestly time, man. It's like, this is the time to do. Yeah, this is the time to like right now.
Obama's cracking open now a little bit too, right? He's starting to say things that are like.
Yeah.
Because if you can't say it now, when the fuck can you say it? This guy's literally shitting the bed in front of the entire world. He's squatting on a mattress and shitting on it, and we're laughing.
And I think that
the worst part is the country's the bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's taking right. Wasn't I right when I said I shit? Like, it's all coming full circle this episode. Remember? I shit the deep dish. It's all just shit. He's shitting on the country. But like
can we talk about this one episode is like the idea that everyone who talks about the United States calls it the most powerful country in the world. I want to explore that more with you guys, maybe another episode, but it's just like a ridiculous.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you think about it, it's like it makes sense that people believe it because America's been telling us in their TV shows, in the motherfucking movies, all the time they get on, they have the most broadcast signals in the world. They are the broadcast center. So their message, that's why we think the world is ending, because these motherfuckers are putting poison into our ears, making us believe shit. It's fucking bullshit.
My whole life, I think they've attacked a country a year. So it's reasonable that we would think they're a powerful country. I mean, like they attack a country more often than a Super Bowl. So it does inspire you to think, well, they must be powerful. I don't know.
I think last episode, I don't know what to me, every time I look at Trump, it's like, this guy's a stand-up comic. He's telling jokes. I laugh out loud.
Yeah.
So to me, I think if we're laughing at this guy and he really is telling jokes, then why the fuck are we taking him seriously? We're stupid that we get mad at this guy. Like, he's just he's there.
The puppet. Like, you're right. We're mad at this guy, but it's not like he stays up all night crafting policy, right? So, like, he is a front spokesperson for somebody, right? Like
You have to point the gun somewhere.
Exactly.
And also, when you look at our own city, like the locally, like I said, just that cooperative, everything's going to go local. We can live a great life here. Like we'll be
God,
able
I
to
hope
create,
so.
but we already are. I mean, it is annoying to go shopping, but I'm like, oh well, you know what? I'm glad. I don't want to go buy all this fucking shit. I want to spend time with people and do cultural things, but like, it's all going to go local because everyone is starting to say people are trying to survive and they're seeing how clear it is. Oh, Uber, you take 30% of my fucking money. Airbnb, it's all these American fucking bullshit. We got to just stop giving them the money. That's it.
I think you're right. We have to fight for our what's local. I think you're right. I think that ties back into the news story too. Is like going back to we've got to fight to make sure that our locations. Hell, I think that fits into the meat story. Like, why is all of our food so far away? Right?
That makes no sense.
Well, a lot of those are all reasonable thoughts, and I don't disagree with them. Except that I don't know if you guys remember 1990, but you couldn't buy a pair of pants for under $120, and I'm talking regular pants, because it was a Canadian make them, and they weren't making them for cheap. So, like, these are the trade-offs of globalization. Is that I don't know if you're fully, kind of taking into account the benefits we get from that. Not that I'm on board the whole way, but I do like cheaper
there would
pants.
have to be sacrifice. Like you're right, Monty. You're right. I'm just hoping maybe what it is it's a thing that's well out of balance.
So
maybe it's we
I hope so too.
let what's local go for too long, and we need to get more of a balance between the international. Because God knows, I want to see cultural international stuff happen. I want artists to be able to travel, free flow, communicate with people, but we also need to nurture local markets as well.
It's been 10 minutes.
Love it.
So wicked. That is so wonderful.
I hope next week it's all news. I'm going to start doing. Well, my surprise was my puppet.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
Right? Are we doing question period now? Oh, questionas.
Oh, I love it. Please lay it on.
Lay it on me. Lay it on thick. Joe Biden, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Andrew Shaw. Joe Biden is an alien. Look at those eyes. Did you see the white of his eyes ever? No.
Oh my God.
Look at.
Zoom in on that shit. That's Mr. Binkle's come to life.
That's what Joe Biden is literally going to look like this after he loses. He's going to be this.
Do you guys think he's gonna lose to Trump?
Of course he's going to lose. That's why when Bernie capitulated, I was like, that's it. This is over. Like, it was a shock to me, I have to say, because I was starting to believe. I was praying for Bernie. Like, trust me, I was praying for this fucking guy. And I was like, when he capitulated, I'm like, that. And if that video, if I don't know. Yeah, we think we talked about it. The video where Sanders puts his support behind Biden is the weirdest fucking video. It is so put on. So it's they're doing it.
I didn't see it. I didn't have the courage to see it.
It's awful. It's so uncomfortable.
I don't want to be ageist, but I cannot believe the people they're choosing to run that country are plus 75. As much as I love 75-year-olds, I don't want them running bingo, for Christ's sake, let alone running the biggest economy in the world.
It's these puppets. I'm gonna put remember. Oh yeah, we got to do that episode of what country we want to run for.
You know what, Bernie? You know what? I think Bernie Sanders was just a little bit too abrasive and angry. If he had a little bit more of a friendly charisma, let's say, he might have won over a few of the. What's that?
He could have used a rough edge smoothed out.
Yeah, or a comb.
I think he didn't play the game, the aggressive game that is going on in politics.
He was anti-game, so he would have been a hypocrite if he did.
He was going after Wall Street all the time. And if Wall Street is the deep state, they don't want him there, because if he would have become president, that system was going to collapse. But look, they're making sure that it doesn't.
Is there's going to be a lot of people against wave? Listen, Andrew. I'm worried about a fourth wave. Okay?
Yeah.
because there's some stupid fucking people in this world.
Yeah, and I'll start to get antsy once I'm in the house for, I don't know, 18, 25 months. I start to, you start to be like, listen, guys, would you please, somebody with a vaccine? I'll be working on a vaccine by 24 months.
I was worried about it, but now that was not making me feel good. So I'm just looking forward to seeing things open up. But like, I went out yesterday. I had to. I had to go because somebody ordered my nuts, and it was from in Ottawa. So now I've been giving people nuts in the jar. Well, because this was going on in Ottawa, I'm like, I can't transport a jar. So I had to go to the dollar store, which again, I didn't want to do. But I went to the dollar store, bought a bunch of bags and stuff, came home, took a shower, changed my clothes. Then I had to fucking do the fucking nuts here. And then I had to go to Shoppers Drug Mart to mail it. And then I came back home a third time. And then it was, I mean, I like that stores are not packed.
They said.
What's that?
That's what you get when you shop local.
Yeah. I know. So to me, it was stressful in the way that because I had to leave and come home and then wipe down. But it's not bad. Like stuff is opening, but I like that. I don't want to say I like that it's controlled, but I like that there's not a ton of people in there. And that's going to it's slowing everything down, capitalism anyways. It's slowing the whole fucking thing down, I think.
Let's hope so. Like, do you think everyone's just going to go extra cuckoo when this is all over and just like start spending money?
No, because the streets are still like, I went out yesterday. Things are starting to open up. It's not that much busier.
I hope I kind of hope there's a rash of Americans that try to launch themselves into space. Just be like, all right, listen, we're in trouble. We're launching ourselves. And like, well, this will be interesting,
Yeah, Shirley just commented. Yeah, I just read that they're going to send Tom Cruise to space with Elon Musk's.
We talked about this last episode. He's doing stunts for a movie there.
Really?
That all checks out.
Yeah.
What a fuck!
Oh my God. As he usually does.
Should Canada build a wall?
Oh my God!
The only question is where.
Fair enough.
Right down the middle, I think we should build it. Like, just separate the country. Like, what for? I'm like, I don't know.
Like build a wall down the middle of Canada or down the middle of America?
No, down the middle of Canada, just for the kicks.
Yeah, right.
Like as if the Mongols were attacking us from Alberta or the other way around. Just be like, we built a Great Wall. What?
When you talk about like conspiracy stories and stuff like that, it's like when you say build a wall and, Monty, what you're saying, I'm like, Americans, I feel like we got to worry about the North Pole, man, and people coming over the North Pole at us, the Russians, man.
We're 2 minutes out, folks. It's time to say your goodbyes and your throws.
Oh my God, and I did not say this off the top. That was the one thing I forgot. Folks who are watching, we're not charging ticket prices because we just want to be widely available. But this is a donor-supported show. So where do the donations get made, Joe? There's a donate button on the Facebook page.
Yeah, so you just go to bit.ly/softleft. I'm going to put it up in the comments right now. You can go and donate right there online. Yeah, and we would really much appreciate it because we'll keep pumping out some awesome content.
Yeah, and the donations will make the show more sophisticated. We want to just do more of this. This is so much fun. So yeah, this is a donor-supported show. So donate so that all the artists can be paid and we can grow the show and have more fun. I think that's The other shout out is the Emergency Relief Fund for Canadian Comedians. Donate to your local food banks, and then we also have all these amazing artists who have shout outs too. Phil.
Shout out, this week to my Instagram account. Come visit me at Phil Luzi Official. I'll have something fresh for you tomorrow morning.
Monty.
You know what? I'm doing a podcast with my buddy Pat Bircher at the Impetus of Everything. You can find us on Twitter or Facebook or at Monty Scott or at Pat Bircher. And it's called The Impetus of Everything. So it's a lot of fun.
I love that title, Monty.
Yeah, it's so great.
It's great. It's wonderful.
It speaks for itself, so you should probably listen. Why not? And also, Legolam at Metro, boneless, is now $7.99.
Okay, this is amazing. I want these weekly food updates. Food
I
sales.
can't help it, Sandra. It's Flyer Day, for Christ's sake.
Candy.
Oh my God! Well, I'm on Twitter and Instagram as Candice Gregoris. Also, I have an unboxing today.
Oh yes!
Oh my God! Look! I got a Pat McGrath lipstick. Oh my God! It's gonna be.
I don't know who Pat McGrath is.
Oh, she is a very famous makeup lady, guru type lady. And if you have some time, go read my thing, which is Film Penance on Tumblr, where I review movies I really should have seen by now.
Tumblr? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I'm in there between.
I used to look at porn on Tumblr. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that I'm trying to get on people? I want to be next to the porn at all times. Sneak a movie review into my porn.
It's probably good policy.
I heard that you can find porn even on Twitter. The deep Twitter.
Deep Twitter.
Deep Twitter.
It's all deep, and that you can date people on Facebook. There's a heart thing that you can go and find love. Carol Zoccoli, your shout outs.
Yeah, this is my Instagram, guys, at Zoccoli Carol, and my Twitter account is at Carol Zoccoli.
Amazing. So guys, shout out to the Mob's Press, Mob Boss Joe, who's here on the 6th Quadrant, Let's Horror Comedy, who produces this in association with Small Battalion Productions. We're just excited for the show. We're here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Links to our YouTube archives where our past shows are there, and we are super pumped to see you next week.
Yeah.